All right. What's going on, everybody? We're at the Scotty P Breakdown Podcast, and I'm here with Damien.
What's going on?
I really appreciate you coming out here, man, taking the time to sit with me for a little bit.
No problem, man. No problem. Yeah, we're out here at, we're in Austin, Texas at Radio Coffee because we initially scheduled it to do it at B-Team. B-Team YouTube is actually filming. Didn't realize. So last minute we had to go over here. So I guess in advance, sorry if it's too loud or the weather's a bit off right now.
Well, it's kind of funny. Is like one of the main reasons I wanted my setup to be mobile because I knew these kinds of things would happen, and I also know that I want to be able to come to the best guys and be able to do it pretty much anywhere.
Adapt and overcome.
right. And that's it's funny. That's one of the sayings of the Marine Corps, and that's I was in the Marines.
You're in the Marines. Yes. Oh man, all right. This is a podcast for me, really, but I'm curious. How long were you in the Marines for?
7. I did 7 active years and then 1 reserve year.
Wow. Okay, that was like out of high school, or when did you go in?
Yep, 17 years old.
Yeah,
right out of high school.
Shit, didn't know what you're gonna do. Just hopped in the Marine Corps. What made you do it?
Honestly, I didn't even want to do it. I wanted to. I was thinking about doing the Army or the Navy, and my buddy was like, "Dude, you're about to do something, because I might as well be the best." I was like, "Well, if you're going, I'm going."
Oh hell yeah, you guys went. Damn, did you do any deployments?
I did. I did a West Pacific deployment. So we got on a naval ship. And we're called a Marine Expeditionary Unit. Okay. And we went out and did counter piracy for Somalia. So like Captain Phillips, that movie, all that was us.
Yeah. Holy shit. Actually, my stepdad did the same thing actually. I mean, he's in the Navy, but yeah, his name's John Sidwell. I don't know if you would know him. I mean, he's like a Master Chief now in the Navy, but yeah. That's so funny. But what made you get out?
Jiu-jitsu. I was doing obviously it's a multitude of things, but one of the biggest things was, so the Marine Corps is really big on adaptability and overcoming. They never want you to be good at any one thing. They want you to be good at like everything.
Like jack of all trades, right?
Yeah. And I had just gotten into I was a martial arts instructor for the Marine Corps, like did combatives, did like basic striking, basic grappling. I had a grappling team and we were really good we won all like the novice and beginner tournaments. And I was in charge of my own dojo. So it was like literally the size of B-Team. I had my own office and I was like the head guy there. Wow. And I knew that if I enlisted one more time or if I re-signed up, they were going to push me somewhere else. I was going to go back to doing like other stuff, like typical Marine Corps stuff.
Yeah. Going to work, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I'm literally doing what I love to do. There's no way I could give this up. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all in on jiu-jitsu.
All in. That was actually, so when I started jiu-jitsu, I was like halfway in because I was in college at Rutgers. And then, I found jiu-jitsu because Gary Tonin was the head instructor of a jiu-jitsu club out there. I found it. I started training, but I was doing college and training jiu-jitsu, but I didn't really know that there was a future in jiu-jitsu. And then one time I realized that Gordon wasn't really established yet. He was still like a purple belt that like won and lost stuff. It wasn't like he wasn't dominant. Gary was like a big name, but I didn't realize how big he actually was within the sport yet. Because I just really wasn't on social media that much. And then I realized they were pursuing jiu-jitsu professionally, and I was like, oh well, like how can I try to do that? And they're like, you're not really going to be able to do it if you're mixing between school and jiu-jitsu. It's like we're training full time. So then I had to go all in. And then when I opened up my first gym, when I was a purple belt, or I was like, it was a few years ago, that I named it All In first. It was named All In BJJ. And then because of that mindset, it's like with jiu-jitsu or with anything you love, I feel like you really have to go all in to make it work, right? To reach the level that people like aspire to, and like they see these guys. It's like the only way you can really do that is by going all in. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, dude. On the way up here, I'm like thinking in my head how I'm all in on this podcast. Like, I drove 3 hours this morning to make sure I could get you on. Schedule something with Hassam. I'm probably gonna make the drive again here at Austin next week, and it's like
crazy.
Yeah, it can't be like a side project. It's got to be like put everything into it, just like I did everything else in my life, and hopefully it'll be something one day.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's 100% true. Like, you're going all in on the podcast, so it's like it's going to succeed, right? But I actually look at it in another way. It's like the amount of podcasts, or this is just in general, like the amount of podcasts that people start, how many of them actually succeed? It's like you would say it's a small number. Same thing with MMA, same thing with jiu-jitsu, same thing with literally everything. But it's like most people don't really go all in. So it's like if you say the statistic is oh, only 5% of podcasts actually make it. It's like, wouldn't you want to align, like give yourself the best chances of succeeding by going all in and then doing everything you can to make it succeed? And like in turn, you know, you'll be surprised at the jumps that you can make right throughout that journey. So, yeah.
I would say that one of the best factors for me in deciding on what to go all in on is like the love behind it. So, I mean, for you, you had to have loved jiu-jitsu in order to go all in. You didn't go all in on jiu-jitsu because you're like, oh, I'm gonna be a megastar.
I hated it. No, you're right. You're right. That's something that I was lucky to find when I was like 19-ish, 18, 19, which is still, it's late for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But young enough that I thought I could make it work, right? But I genuinely think if you find what you love to do, then the work just becomes play, and you can play way like for way more time, right? It's like you're willing to do a lot more if it doesn't really feel like work. If it feels like work and there's a boss and telling you that you have to push extra hours, but it's not really for yourself, it's like, are you really going to go all in? Are you really going to give it your all and give your best effort? Or are you just going to do the minimum amount of work to not lose your job type of deal, right? So I definitely think it's super important to find what you love to do and then figure out how to monetize that. It's like you have to kind of work backwards, because there's a lot of people with you know, money that work dog hours, and they would probably have a better life if they worked a little less hours, making a little bit less money, but loving what they did, right? So it's like, if you say, what is the end goal? The end goal is, I want to be happy, like being successful, making good money still, but doing something that I love to do. Then it's like, you have to find what you love to do and then reverse engineer it, work backwards on how do I actually monetize that thing that you love to do, if that's the goal. Because a lot of people in the beginning, they think that they have or they don't really follow the path that they're going. So then like, when they're 45, 55, they're like, I can't believe this is like, where did I end up? They look around and they're like, how did I end up with this situation, having to work these hours or not being able to retire or all these different things. But when they were 18 or 20 or 25, whatever, they never actually did that plan on where they actually want to go. So it's like, if you just drive a car, you can go somewhere, but at the end of the trip, are you going to look back and be like, oh, I didn't think I'd end up here? Whether that's good or bad, I don't know.
Right. No, I 100% agree with you. You know, it's like, you got to have a plan. You got to know where you're going.
Yeah, like you're not going to know everything, but you definitely want to have some type of goal. Like, what is your goal? What is that end goal like? Because only with that end goal, then you can reverse engineer it. You know, figure out how to actually get there. There's going to be bumps and bruises on the way. There's going to be podcasts that can't get done at the gym, so we have to go to radio. You adapt and overcome. But definitely that goal is super important.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many podcasts I've done and I messed something up. Like one time I tried to get my coach on the podcast and he's very busy, and, you know, it took me like weeks to get him on, and I finally got him on, and then my camera was out of focus.
Oh my God.
I want to pull all my hair out. So I got to reschedule it with him again sometime. But, you know, it's just that learning process and willing to make those mistakes. And one of the other big things that for me, I've been able to focus on the content creation and the podcasting is like the money making doesn't really come first for me anyways. Like, just like with jiu-jitsu, I realize it's like, well, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu for as long as I can, whether I make content or not. Like I know I'm going to go to tournaments and I'm going to make friends. And so it's like, it only makes sense to make content on the side, you know? And that's kind of how I started doing it. Is like, well, I know I'm going to go to as many tournaments as possible for as long as I can compete. So it's like, why wouldn't I find a way to kind of like involve that into it? And then the same thing is like with a podcast is like, I always want to talk to you guys. You know, I know I'm going to be meeting you guys or different athletes and superstars of jiu-jitsu in the world. And it's like, man, why would I not have like some type of outlet where I could talk to these people? You know, it's like the relationships and the conversations triumph the podcast itself. And so it makes the podcast easy, really.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah,
dude. So tell me, so you got the B team affiliation in New Jersey that you own, which is dope. Yeah, I think that's the first one, right? The only one?
That's the only one. Yeah, first and only B Team affiliate. It's B Team New Jersey. It's in Greenbrook, New Jersey. It's run by my business partner Andrew Vidal. He's a Nicky Ryan black belt.
Damn.
So he's their head instructor. I run the back end, so like dealing with the accounts, dealing with the landlord, dealing with insurance, whatever back end bullshit. So then he could just focus on teaching and doing the day to day.
Hell yeah. And then now you're one of the coaches at B Team, and you've won. Or you had a viral match at Combat Jiu-Jitsu, right? Where you knocked that dude out with a palm strike.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Anyway, and then you also create content on. So you do like little mini instructionals on Instagram. So essentially, you're balancing, content creation. Oh, and you're also on the Simple Man podcast, which is popping off here recently as well. So you're a content creator, gym owner, and a coach, and a competitor.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the goal is always like a competition. The goal is always MMA. That was like my ultimate goal. But before that, like, again, so starting off with a goal and working backwards, that's something that I do with literally everything. It's just how I'm kind of hardwired. So I always wanted to do MMA and be a champion in MMA. And when I looked at the fighters, the ones that I felt had the safest careers and the like longest careers, they were all mainly grapplers. Like that's how I saw it. Feel free to disagree with me if you want, but when I looked at them, I was like, the grapplers seem to have the longest and safest career path. So then working backwards, I was like, I need to figure out how to get world-class jiu-jitsu or world-class grappling, whether that was wrestling or jiu-jitsu. I wanted to make sure that I had world-class grappling. And then only once I had world-class grappling, then did I decide to start finding striking and then now start working on my striking, just because it's like, even the best strikers can still get knocked out. Israel Adesanya, who is like arguably the best striker in UFC, right? Him or Volkanovski, they both just got, finished. So it's like, it's a dangerous game. So again, you want to align everything up to give yourself the best possibility. So I felt like I needed to get good grappling first. Once I had good grappling, then take over with my striking. But along the way, you have to build a brand. You have to, again, just working backwards. Even guys with the best skills, but the smallest brands, they still have no leverage, and it's still very difficult for them to make money in the sport or in a sport that has such little money for the most part. So it's like, you have to align everything in your favor. So if you're going to be training all the time, you might as well be just filming something to post on Instagram every day, or, the instructionals. I play around with different strategies. So it's like for 6 months or so, I was playing around with the instructional type of content. And then I kind of stopped that a little bit, doing more just viral kind of or little scramble clips that I'll post or whatever, just to see how that goes. I don't really know. I'm not like a marketing genius or anything. I'm just playing around with, see what works on Instagram, and everyone has their own niche. So I'm still trying to find my niche, but I still post content pretty much daily on that, just because it's like, growing the brand that's the only way you're really going to make money, any type of substantial money. It's like, that's the only way you're going to do it. And then, obviously I also have the gym, in New Jersey that, the reason I started that gym was because I was a purple belt, and, I felt like I was working for Gary's gym. I learned how to do the back end work and stuff like that. And then I felt like the goal for me working for Gary was so that I could eventually open my own gym. Because at the time, I didn't know if I could make it as a grappler, as a competitor, as a fighter. So I wanted to give myself another out, basically. So I needed to learn how to run the gym properly and stuff. And then once I felt that all the problems that I faced, I no longer needed Gary to help me. It was like, I just pretty much would solve it. Then I was like, okay, well, now I'm ready to do it on my own. So then I figured out how to do it on my own, so on and so forth. So it's like, always have these different kind of strategies towards different goals, everything, but they all encompass jiu-jitsu, or all encompass grappling or martial arts in general.
Well, dude, man, I'm glad you said that, and it makes a lot of sense now why you're such a success. It's like you picked a goal and you back engineered it. I haven't done that, and I'm gonna start doing that, like picking goals and then working my way backwards. I kind of just, I mean, I'm smart enough to like pick a direction, and then I try to like, I'm always like, just like anything, you have ideas and they don't work, and you're constantly adjusting. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna start doing that, where I'm like, okay, this is where I want to be. How do I back engineer that? Very
Yeah,
smart.
it's like a powerful tool if you can reverse engineer things and just like think about what the goal is, because then it's like it's a clear kind of then you at least have a plan. You have a direction of where you're trying to go. But if you just start something and then just wing it, well, it's like you don't know if it's going to go. Like you can get distance, but are you really getting like to the height of where you want to get to? Like you'll end up over here, maybe not as big as you would have if you had a clear direction. I don't know. That's how I see it.
And well, it's like funny too, because it's like now I know, I didn't know you. I just see you on social media, and it's like now I have confidence that it wasn't by accident that you're at where you're at. It's like this dude has been very meticulous about his path, and this is why you have, such a presence on social media and in the grappling community. So that's cool to find out.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I kind of want to at least take a moment, because we're kind of like jumping in and back and forth in and out of your past. Maybe just like, just how you came up story, like the origin story of Damien.
Yeah, the origin story. So it's super weird, man. I don't even know if I actually said this on a podcast. I should bring it on my Simple Man podcast. Yeah. But in 6th grade, we had a journal entry that we had to write down, and it was what is your dream job, or where do you see yourself as an adult? And we're in 6th grade, so we're like, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12. And I wrote UFC champion in there. I don't know why, and I was like, oh, the lifestyle is where I get to train with my friends all the time and do judo and jiu-jitsu. But in all honesty, I didn't do any of those things. I wrestled a little bit, but I didn't take a jiu-jitsu class, didn't take a boxing class or a Muay Thai class or kick. I literally knew nothing, but I was like a little kid dreaming. I'm like, that would be so cool. Like, I want to be a UFC champion, right? Scratch that. Goes out of my mind. I never think about it really.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then go back to whatever I was going to do. All right. Actually, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL for the most part growing up. But then I graduate high school. I'm now in college. And then I find jiu-jitsu randomly just at the club. Like I said, Gary Tonin was the head instructor there.
What a trip. Luckiest club find ever, right?
Dude, right? It's crazy. One of my friends, actually, we were just, we're being dudes, whatever. We're drunk and we're fucking around, wrestling and fighting. And then he's like, oh, I do the jiu-jitsu club. You should come one day. And I was like, fuck, I definitely want to do that. And then I go to the jiu-jitsu club. I get hooked on it pretty much immediately. I join Gary's gym, start training pretty much every day while I'm in college still. Not because I thought I could really do it, but it was just so much fun, right? It was so much fun. And then I keep training, and then maybe 6 months in, I'm training every day, some multiple classes usually every day, but that's just because I have kind of an addictive personality type of thing. And then I think Gordon was like, oh, are you trying to do this professionally? And that's when I realized, I was like, you guys are doing this professionally? I thought you guys I was like, is there really a future in this? Because at the time, no one really made any money except Gary. Nikki was in school. It was still a white belt. Gordon was a purple belt that was going to community college, working as a garbage man every now and then. So there was really no future, it looked like, but they all said that they were trying to do it. And then I did see Gordon kind of break through the regional ranks into more of a world stage. So then that gave me a little bit of confidence. I saw Gary was competing pretty successfully. That was the Paul Harris era, the EBI era. So he was winning a lot of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then still no MMA or talks of MMA. But then I think my sophomore year of college, I forget if Gary was doing MMA yet, but basically once Gary said that he was doing MMA, then I was like, fuck, that's so sick. That's really cool. But still, I still didn't pursue MMA until John actually told me that we were just having a conversation about fighting one time, and then he was basically explaining to me that there's a pattern or a system of fighting that if you can do this properly, you basically can win the fight in a safe manner. Because before that, I thought it was kind of just like people were kind of brawling, and it seemed kind of dumb to me. But then he was like, no, there's a safe way to fight, basically, using shoot boxing, using grapple boxing. If you have world-class grappling, that you can have this safe style of fighting. And I was like, oh, so this, if I learn this, then I can actually have a chance at being like doing this pretty well. And then so I started training MMA a little bit, and he was like, we're just going over, mainly it was grappling style MMA, obviously. And we had decided to move to Puerto Rico, and I still don't really think about, that I want to be a UFC like champ yet, or like an MMA champion. But when I'm moving my stuff out of my house to go to Puerto Rico, I find that notebook. I brought the notebook. It's in Austin right now still. And I'm just flipping through the notebook, and I see that at 6th grade, in like, God knows when, maybe like 2010 or 2009 or something, I was like, yeah, I want to be a UFC champion. So it's just crazy how that worked out. But then once I really decided that, I wanted to pursue it, then I really didn't take a fight until like I felt that I had world-class grappling. So it was like, you actually didn't even see me fight until like a year ago, to be honest. Because like when I was fully solidified as like myself as a world-class grappler, and then I was like, all right, now's the time that I can start transitioning to a professional career type of thing. Because now I just plan on ripping through fights now. It's like, as soon as I got to this level, now it's just about getting the numbers up, getting my record, getting to 5-0, 7-0, 8-0, whatever that is, to get to the next level, and then just kind of rip through that.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to be able to hold a feather to do your grappling, not at all. And it's funny, not to talk too much smack to the strikers, but it always cracks me up that just from what I've seen is, obviously, there's always jokes that, the grapplers need to learn how to strike, and they try to just make it all about grappling. But I almost never see a striker learn grappling. It's almost always the grapplers learning striking.
Dude, the thing is like, not that striking is easy. It's not easy, for sure. There are elite level strikers that will just piece you up.
Right.
But there's just more variables in grappling, that it takes more time to get good at grappling than it does to get good at striking. Like, to get competent in grappling, it's not just mount, close guard, like back control. There's so many other intricate positions that, like, if you don't know the position, it's like you're gonna get fucked up there. In striking, since there's no wedges holding you in place, if you don't know this one position, it's like, all right, disengage, reattack from an angle that you know, right? So it's like the positional advantages that you can have in striking, they last a quarter of a second or a blink of an eye, right? Because then you just face your opponent. Now it's done. In grappling, you can hold that positional advantage because you're using the mat as a wedge, you're using your body as a wedge. You can hold that for extended periods of time. So if you genuinely don't know how to disassemble these wedges or create some space, you're fucked. You're fucked. So I'm also biased, but I think grappling is the superior martial art in MMA, pretty much, right?
Yeah. Well, and then it also goes to like the idea of like, even tying it together is a whole nother piece in of itself. It's like, again, your grappling is world class. So you already have a very solid foundation, so that tying it together will come a lot more naturally to you. But even, because you'll see a lot of times, and I've had this mistake happen to me before when I was young. So I used to fight MMA as well.
Okay.
I had 7 fights a long time ago,
Nice.
Had a concussion, and I was just like, wow, I'm a focus on grappling. And one of the mistakes that I found myself making is that I trained at a gym, and we did Muay Thai class, and then we did jiu-jitsu class.
Okay.
And that tying it in piece was just it's like such a big thing that you actually really need. And I went against a really good striker, and by the time I figured out that I wouldn't be able to strike with him, I was already too gassed to implement my striking, and my transitions from the striking to the grappling just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And so being able to really like tie it all together is actually what makes it, helps you break into that next level, where it doesn't, if they're better than you in any one moment, it doesn't matter, because you're able to put the three together into a better piece.
Yeah.
I've even seen some of my training partners be the same mistake, where maybe they were the better grappler, but the guy's striking to the wrestling to the grappling was better. And so he overwhelmed him with 1-2 to the takedown. And even though my buddy knew how to get out, he was just able to pop back up on her feet, 1-2, take it down again, So it's just like that thing of like being able to put it all together.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, dude. So we got into your background. So now that everyone's got your origin story, and now you're transitioning to MMA. You said you're essentially trying to rack your record up now, which is a dope position to be in, where you're like, yeah, I'm just trying to, you know, rack these wins up. For me, you know, it'd be like, I'm still in that mindset of like, yeah, just winning would be nice. And you're already like, I gotta get the record.
I kind of thought about it like a bit methodically. Like, I didn't want to do too much. Well, once I went like pro, I didn't want to develop. I'm still going to be developing, obviously, and getting a lot better. But the majority of my development happened before I hit this stage. So, yeah, now it's just about. I mean, anyone at these lower level organizations, I feel like, you know, they're not going to be on my level yet. And then even like low level UFC, still, you know, arguably same thing there. So yeah, I'm just trying to build a record. Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. You know, it's like,
no, it's badass.
Yeah, I'm just gonna crank out fights now. It's like I'm brutally honest, like with my skills. You know, especially like I don't have yes men around me that tell, like, pretty much everyone tells me that I suck still, which is like a thing that you need to have, because like that's the only way you're really gonna get better, is like if you're brutally honest. You never want to say like, oh yeah, I have the best this. It's like, what can I do better to make this move better? You know, there are always flaws in your technique. So very honest with my skill set. So that's why it took me so long to actually decide to go pro. But once I decided to go pro, then I'm honest with myself, like now I'm ready to start cranking out these fights.
Yeah. So where are you training your striking at?
So I train my striking at Ambush Muay Thai under Elton Wells. In my opinion, one of the best striking coaches I've ever listened to. I mean, I don't have a in-depth knowledge of you know, striking just because I'm a fairly new striker, but I do have a lot of experience with world-class coaches. So as soon as I heard Elton Wells talk about Muay Thai, and then when I asked, oh, what about this? It wasn't just like, what about one move or one angle? It wasn't just the techniques that come from there. There's the reason why we do that in that situation or in that time. And then once I started hearing about the why, then I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is a good coach. Because any coach that has been doing the sport for a decade or for doing it for 2 decades, they're going to be able to give you combinations. They're going to be able to teach you moves, but can they teach you the why you're doing things? And the why, in my opinion, is more important than the how, like how you do the things. Because the why means that now if I'm faced with a situation that my coach isn't there to actually guide me through, I can still actively problem solve independently of my coach. So if I can truly understand the sport, now my learning curve starts to get a lot higher versus just memorizing these combos that I don't really understand the distance or the angles that I have to get to or the why that I get to that position. Because then I can creatively problem solve myself.
Right. So would you say that you got that from like the Danaher Gary lineage? Because that's what I hear a lot about Danaher, is that he explains like the whys and the conceptual whys.
100%. That was definitely because of John. It's really because of John, but obviously that stemmed down to Gary. Gary's obviously a student, so we all kind of thought the same way, and that's kind of how I was taught. So yeah, the why is the most important thing I believe when talking about, is this coach a good coach or a great coach? It's like, can they explain to you the why in all these different scenarios?
Dude, and so I've been coaching for a long time, and because when I was in the Marine Corps, we taught combatives. And it's more of like it's kind of cool because they do teach you how to teach, like little strategies that you can use to get someone's attention, like ways to put someone through like adversity and knowledge. And so like, for example, like one of the things they showed us is that, you know, if you really want to show someone something, the best time is after the workout. It's when they're depleted and they'll actually have your attention. Do you really want to like give them like whether it's, you know, personal knowledge or professional knowledge. Because in the Marine Corps, right, you know, when we taught combatives, not only do we teach martial arts, but we try to teach them how to be better humans and better Marines in general. And so it was like, you know, first you want to break them off, then you want to teach them to move. So, you know, we did like a lot of conditioning and strength conditioning, which maybe you don't experience a lot in martial arts. But, you know, so just that aspect of like, you know, if I want the kids to listen, I'm not going to try to preach to them when they first get into the door. You know, I'm going to like get them going, get their heart rates up, and then they're a lot more quiet after that. So it's like those little things that I was able to learn as a instructor in the Marine Corps. But when you go through jiu-jitsu, it really is just that, like, oh, here's the move, you practice it, and then you train it. And it seems like now it's starting to be like this renaissance of like, there's a different way to go about it. And so like one of the guys I've been studying,
core-based coach.
Yep. He's one of them as well.
Okay.
One of the reasons I kind of locked onto him is there was a guy before him called School of Grappling. He's in Europe or Russia or somewhere, but he gained a huge following. He was like a physicist, and he was just talking about these concepts of learning and then applying it to grappling. And one of the things that he was saying would be like, people believe that function follows form.
Explain to me.
So he was saying that like most people believe that function comes from the form. So it's like this is the move and this is what it does. But the real way is what you're saying is, why are we doing this move? So what is the function? And then the form develops around the function. So what are we trying to do? And here's one way of doing it. And it leaves you open-minded to accomplish the same task, but maybe in a different way.
Yeah. 100% agree.
And they say that in engineering. I was talking about this with someone else, and he's like, that's a principle of engineering. You don't build the outside and then be like, okay, I want it to do this. You're like, okay, what does this building need to do? And then build it from there. So, and it's just like, it's so funny because, people have been training jiu-jitsu for a long time, but not many people think about it that way. It's like, here's an arm bar and this is the way to do it. And they'll even be like, it's this one specific way to do it. But when you grapple for a long enough time, there are people that do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yep.
And so I got two 15-year-olds, and 15, they're like, it blows my mind, like what they know. Like I'll show them something, and then like the next day they know so many more different things. And I'm like, well, you guys ain't getting this from me.
Yeah.
And, I got one kid, man, how quickly he picks things up, and then he just makes stuff up, like just does like this random stuff. And it's just, that kind of thinking allows them to be creative. And so when he'll ask me questions all the time, and I'm like, dude, I'm not telling you that it's wrong. You could do that. This is what I do. But if that works for you, go ahead and do it. I try not to close them off to any one type of way of thinking. It's like, dude, like one day he got me in an arm bar, and I pulled out, and I went to like pull my arm out, and he like grabbed onto me and then squeezed a triangle on my arm. And like, he just lifted his whole body up just by holding onto me, and it was like just lashed onto me. And for me, I would never do that. Like if someone starts to lift me up, I would like let go
into legs or something.
Yeah. But for him, squeezing his whole body and being able to like latch onto me like that worked for him. And I was like, who am I to tell him not to do that? He could literally backpack me all of a sudden or put me in a reverse triangle. Who knows? So yeah, just that whole idea of like, again, what is the why that we're doing it? And then maybe here's one way of doing it, but there's always more ways.
Yeah. I'm always skeptical of when people, even like with my teammates or my coaches in general, I'm always skeptical when people say like, we shouldn't do this, or like, this is not, or maybe not, we shouldn't do this, but this is not how it's done. Cause it's like, I think it's an easy way to shut something down. It's like, you really want to, you always want to be asking questions and pushing back on that. Like the arm bar, for instance, like this is how you do the arm bar. And it's like, you don't cross your ankles because X, Y, Z. But if you push back on that, you see that there's a bunch of different other types of arm bars, or there for the longest times, people used to say, I don't know if you know this, but people used to say that you shouldn't cross your ankles in an arm bar. Because it reduces like pressure on the head or something like that. However, that's really only the case when your opponents are stacking you. If you lock your legs, now there's really no wedge behind your opponent's head. Your opponent's head comes up. Now they can limp their arm out. However, if they're on the ground and there's a wedge behind their back and their back is on the mat, that distance can't really be created. And if you lock their shoulder with your ankles, it's very difficult for them to turn and misalign their shoulders relative to your hips. So it's like, I would actually argue that crossing your ankles in the normal Jujigatame, normal armbar, is a superior way to do it than unlock legs. So it's like a concept that was always thought to be true turned out not to be, right? Yeah. And it's or same thing with back control. People used to say that falling to the overhook side or the strangle side, that was the strong side. And then falling to the underhook side was the weak side. That when I first started, that's what it used to be called. And then it's just because we didn't understand how to control or the different wedges that were in place for the weak side. Personally, and a lot of us actually prefer the quote unquote weak side or falling to the control side.
Right.
So it's anytime someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't do this," I'm always like, I'll have that in the back of my head for now, but I'm always going to be asking questions on is this true? I was literally having a conversation with my coach last night, because he's of the belief that essentially stance switching isn't as good as people make it out to be. It's like, and the reason behind it, which are sound, it's like your defensive footwork, your defensive hand placement, your defense is essentially going to be not as good as your as your defense in your strongest stance. In addition, your strikes, so your cross, your kick, your teeps, your offensive movements are going to be better in your dominant stance as well. So I was talking about it with him, and then he does believe that like there are times for stance transitions, like so where you attack for periods of times and you go back to your normal stance that we have. But he doesn't believe the idea of fighting in your opposite stance is beneficial because of the lack of defense. And like I believe him, you know, I agree with the mindset, but I was still pushing back on it. It's like the analogy that I gave was, well, what about basketball players or lacrosse players that they always have a dominant side? You know, they're right-handed, but they work on their left hand and they can dribble just as well on their left hand as they can on their right hand. Same thing in lacrosse. Once you get to the highest levels, like it doesn't matter whether you're left-handed or right-handed. You can catch and throw and do anything you want, or shoot left-handed or right-handed. So it just takes practice. And as humans, we are very adaptable. So then I was like, why don't I just work on my my opposite stance? And the only reason I push back on this too is just because John actually taught me that striking or switching stances was superior to staying in one stance. And then when I went to my Muay Thai coach, he said the opposite. So I'm always questioning everything, right? And I think that's important. Long story short, I just think that's important. Is the idea that you can't just hold one thing as fact forever, because the facts, you know, it could be not true at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, definitely the crossing the legs on the arm bar. Like, yeah, they tell you not to do that, to feet flat on the mat, to squeeze. But if I can cross my feet underneath your far side arm, I feel way more confident, because you're not going to be able to do the hitchhiker escape. You know, and it's going to keep that secondary arm close to me so that I could peel both.
Yeah.
And then like another one with the back take and on which side. I remember specifically like one of my coaches telling me, he's like, yeah, you're doing it on the wrong side. And I'm like, just in my mind, I was like, but I feel so much better on this side. And now, and another thing too is like when you go to the underhook side, the control side, the arm is there for the arm bar. And I love attacking the arm bar from the back. Yeah. Because some people, they're really hard to choke. You know, but if I feel like I can't get the choke, I just shove your face away and I'm able to throw my leg over and attack that same side arm. And then now it seems like if you go to this side arm, you know, unless you can like pick them up and get you, because you want your head on the side of the face that's on the mat, right? So I want to put my head in between their head and the mat so that they can't get their back to the mat.
Oh, that's if you're on the control side. Yeah, control side.
Right, yeah, because you're not gonna be able to do it on the other side.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I can get my head on the opposite side on that control side, it makes it way tougher for you to escape.
Yeah, for sure.
So so it's like, it kind of goes to that. Also, I'm sure you heard as what they tell white belts, a straight arm is a broken arm, right? It's like never straighten your arms. Should always be tight elbows. But once you're good at grappling, it's benefits you to be able to straighten your arm, you know, like whether it's like getting people off you, shucking, or, you know, throwing feints out there. Like I knew a black belt, he would purposely give you a Kimura so he would step over and armbar you, you know? So it's like, he'd purposely leave his elbow out, right? You know, so like people tell you tight elbows, don't leave your elbow out. But once you get to a certain level, you throw that rule in the trash. It'll be like, no, I want you to go for this Kimura and I'm going to step over and spin over and armbar you.
Yeah. That's actually a funny thing to think about too, actually. And it makes me think about the stance switching a little bit more. It's like, I believe, don't extend your arms, you know, keep everything nice and tight. That's great for white, blue belts, even early purple belt. But once they have the general rule, then they can start breaking the rules a little bit selectively. So then I guess I would say, like, as a new striker, as a developing striker, I should probably stick in one stance until I'm proficient enough to now start switching and having my own tricks or whatever. Because it's like, yeah, extending your arms, especially in a defensive situation, is very bad. And like, if I saw a white belt or blue belt, I'd be like, keep your elbows in, keep your elbows in. If I'm cornering like Nicky Ryan, it's like, all right, he's gonna do something. There's a reason he's tricking them for something, or like he knows what he should and shouldn't be doing. So I'm happy that you brought that up, actually.
Yeah, well, I used to train with a Muay Thai coach, and he would talk about switching stances, and he'd be like, "There's only a handful of reasons why you should switch stances. It's because you suck, you're tired, you're confused, or you're really good, and none of you are really good." You know?
No. I think that's because of that. Now I think that kind of reinforced to hold back stance switching for a little bit. I switch on occasion, like just there's some angle transitions that we do that require some switching, and it's good to have every now and then. But it's like, I'm definitely not fighting in my opposite stance. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love to switch stances too, because my right hand on the jab is so much money. So when someone crowds me a lot, I'll switch real quick and just like really, tag him in the face a couple times on my right, and then I'll switch back to a stance. So same thing. Yeah, it's like one of those things where you kind of want to find the right moments to do it. Obviously, you don't want to just be like, okay, now I'm going to fight in this stance.
Yeah.
In general, in my perspective, being one of the head coaches, gym owner, content creator, competitive athlete, you're essentially like balancing like the lifestyle that a lot of up and coming athletes, people really want. And so what would be if Damien had to give one piece of advice, what would you give to someone who's like trying to be where you're at in life? Besides the back engineering, which is good. Y'all should definitely take note of that. The back engineering is a great piece, but is there anything else that, you would tell someone?
I definitely think back engineering's very important, but one piece of advice, the work has to come first. I think training, like, everyone sees the content, everyone sees the gym, everyone sees, podcasts, whatever, coaching. It's like, we train every day, multiple sessions a day. And that's been going on for years. Almost 8 years now for me. And very rarely are we taking days off. You're taking days off because you had to travel maybe and you missed the session, or you're competing the next day. Or if you are really sick, if you're not sick, then you really should be in the gym. If you're injured, you should still be in the gym. There's really no excuse to miss training. And that's just kind of the culture that we were brought up in. So when I hear people that skip training because, they went to go hang out with their girlfriend that day, it's like, I personally don't believe that person will ever amount or ever reach the level that they wanted to reach because of that mindset. It's like, I just don't see how you can compete with someone that is training every day. Then it just wouldn't make sense to me. Or like, visitors come to B Team that, maybe they were great wrestlers when they were younger, but now they work at Google or Tesla or because tech companies are out here, that we get a lot of visitors like that. And it's like, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, oh, I will beat you, because you just can't compete. It's nothing against them.
Yeah.
They have a great job. They love their lifestyle, but in terms of grappling or in terms of MMA, or in terms of striking anything, it's like, if you're not training as much as me, how can you beat me? That I just don't see it. So the training has to come first. And then, I guess for the content thing, it's like, some people make a lot of excuses like, oh, they don't have time to post. It's like, it takes a minute to post, 2 minutes to post max. It's like, that's just laziness. And it's like, you can not post. Nobody cares if you don't post, but like, don't try to make an excuse that you don't have enough time to make one Instagram post or whatever. It's like, a lot of people make a lot of excuses, and I don't buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought in the content piece, because I was going to be one of the next things. Like, how do you balance the content? A lot of people do get overwhelmed by it. And it's like, I think at first it might take you some time, right? Because you're going to be like trying to figure out, what do I post? What do I say? What are the hashtags? How do I do this? But if you just do it, you get really fast at it. I can make a post in less than 5 minutes. It takes me almost no time. And it's only because I forced myself to do it. And now my brain can like generate posts, at a lightning rate.
Yeah.
And, I think in this new age, you essentially have to do that. you know.
Yeah, it's like if you want to try to make there's a lot of power that you have now because of social media. It's like on the way up to becoming a world-class grappler, world-class fighter, it's like you still have power on the journey through your own brand. Like you can build your own brand, sell your own merch, build your own businesses off the brand until you reach that level. So it's like there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah. And then the thing on the training every day, or not missing training sessions, I did 2 days for a very long time. And, sometimes 3 days. One time I listened to Travis, the black belt judo champion.
Stevens.
Yeah. And he was like, he was just like, yeah, these jiu-jitsu guys think they're pros and they train once a day or twice a day. He's like, what, if you want to be an Olympic level, you're training 3-5 times a day. So there was a period where I was trying to get in as many different sessions as I could because he motivated me.
Dude, when I first started, at Gary's and at Henzo's, we were doing 5 sessions. It was 3 to 5 sessions a day, every day. Like that was it. And now granted, my body's shot, I got banged up, and now the sweet spot for me is 2 days. So now I'm doing 2 days. But when I first started, it was like, how can I get as much knowledge as possible? So I did, 3 to 5 sessions a day, every single day, not taking days off. There was no like rest day, unless you got injured or you got sick or whatever. And there's people that just aren't willing to really do that. So again, I don't see how they can ever compete with someone that is doing that.
Yeah. When I was doing that, people would be like, oh, I'm going to get you one day, or, I've been working on this, and, and it just being like my mindset, I was like, dude, I'm here so often, dude. I don't care what you think that you're working on is I'm going to lap you.
Yeah.
I'm changing every day. My timing is on point. And then I also try to use that to like, tell people, I was like, also don't compare yourself to me, buddy. I'm here literally every day. It's like, it's okay that I'm beating you up. My timing is just every day someone better than me is smushing me into the ground. So when that happens, your timing is just like unreal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But dude, I really appreciate you coming on. This place starting to get packed. I don't want to be taking up too many tables and stuff, but thank you for coming on, dude. I think you really dropped some dope knowledge for the viewers, and I appreciate you, dude.
Of course, bro. Thanks for watching, guys.
Appreciate you.